My name is Gerald Gabriel. I'm from Penticton, BC. My mother is Amelia George, and my father is Raymond Toma from Squilix. I first found out I was diabetic by chance. Um, I was out on a Penticton Indian Reserve, and I was having problems with my stomach, which I've never felt before. Um, It was quite a bit of pain. It lasted quite several days. Everyone kept telling me to go to the hospital, and I was being stubborn. I'll be fine. It'll pass. It'll pass. This went on for days. It got to the point where the pain was so unbearable, I could not ignore it, and it wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. And I finally told somebody to, okay, bring me to the hospital. When we got into the emergency room, it was triage here in Penticton, and what happened was they kept letting other people go ahead of me, and they cycled that waiting room like about 3 times, and I still wasn't going in. I was grinding my teeth and moaning so much I was aggravating the other people in the waiting room, so I went off to the side, and there was a desk by the door, and I laid across that desk, and I was moaning and rolling around and grinding my teeth. It was so unbearable. A doctor came from the elevator and was walking by to the emergency room. He walked by me and he stopped and looked back, and then he turned around and walked to where I was, away from everyone else over here on the side. And he said, "What's wrong?" And I was grinding my teeth so hard I could barely talk, and I told him, "My stomach." And he goes, "What's wrong?" "My stomach." He goes, "When's the last time you drank?" And I said, "I haven't drank in I think 15 years. He spun around immediately when I said that, and he ran to the emergency doors, ran, and he busted those doors open. I could hear him screaming at the top of his lungs. Sirens went off, hollering and screaming, and a bunch of nurses came out with the stretcher, and they all come running at me, and he was screaming at them all. They told me to get on this stretcher, and I went to get off the desk. And as soon as I put my weight off the desk, I hit the ground, hit the floor. The nurses, just as soon as I hit the floor, they all reached down and grabbed me and had me on that stretcher and raced me in to the emergency room. Sirens were going off. Everyone was bumping into one another. I had hoses hooked up to me in every direction. The pain was so unbearable that I was praying for death. I just wanted the pain to go away, and I was actively praying for death. And the last thing I remember, I was going into convulsions, and I was praying, "Just take me. I can't handle this pain." And then I came to, I think, a couple days later. and when I opened my eyes, I was so dead. I couldn't lift my arms. I couldn't hardly even move. My whole body was completely drained, and I was just laying there. I could barely open my eyes. And there was a doctor standing there, and he says, "Oh, Mr. Gabriel, you're up." And I could barely talk, and I was looking at him, and I was just drained. And I said, "Yeah." He goes, I said, "What happened to me?" He goes, "You're lucky to still be here." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, you had an infected gallbladder and a gallstone attack at the same time, and you waited too long to come in." He said, "You're lucky to be here. You just barely made it. They had to fight for me." And the next question he said, "How long you been diabetic?" I said, "I'm not diabetic." He goes, "How long you been diabetic?" I said, "I'm not diabetic." "Yes, you are." "How long?" I said, "I'm not diabetic." And I was getting because I didn't believe I was, and I was getting mad. And he said, "Who else in your family is diabetic?" I said, "No one else in my family diabetic, and I'm not diabetic." He said, "Mr. Gabriel, your sugar levels are off the chart." He said, "Also, your cholesterol is off the chart. You shouldn't even be here. By those alone, we can't even chart them." That's when I found out I was diabetic. And when I left, I stayed in there for several days, and they wanted to cut me open and take out my gallbladder, and I said no. And I was in there for a week or something like that, and I walked out. I was being stubborn. Um, After that, I went back to the reserve, and I kept telling people, I guess apparently I'm diabetic. For about 2 months, this went on, and everyone I talked to gave me a horror story. Oh, my aunt was diabetic. She went blind. Oh, my cousin went diabetic. They got amputated. Oh, so and so, my friend was diabetic. They had liver failure and passed away. And after a while, I'm like, oh my God, am I going to die? Am I not going to be here? Like, I had no idea what diabetes was because it didn't affect me. I mean, no one in my family had. I've heard about it, but I didn't really sink in until I've heard all these awful stories. So I got scared, and I went to the health center here in Penticton. I was directed there, and they said, go make an appointment. So I went there, and I went to the nurses across from the Penticton Hospital. There's a building, the health center, and I said, look, I don't want to die. Like, can you help me? And I signed up. I told them, please sign me up for everything you got. I want to learn everything about this disease. And that was the beginning of my journey. And I faltered every here and there. I fell away from the thing, but I'm learning a lot on this conference because this is my first diabetes conference. And I'm from Penticton, and I've never came here, so I'm learning a lot already. So I'm really thankful, and I can't wait until this week progresses for me to get more tools for myself. I think what would have helped me is like if we had an active health team for Penticton Indian Band that to send out notifications, because now we have emails and social media and newsletters. So if they send out information packages and put certain days up to where anybody who shows certain symptoms can go and test themselves at any time during the week during office hours, would be a real benefit, because I might not have done it even though it was offered at the time because I didn't think I was. But if I knew some of the signs that to look for, and if I was informed, I probably would have. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it, and I thought I was healthy because I didn't drink alcohol. So, you don't know it until you check. And I didn't know what signs to look for, and I wasn't educated. That was part of it. And no one in my family has it.